I do or die for this shit. I flooded all my chains because they want me in the grave. They don't want me rich.
What's happening with Jamar reacted to 10 athletes who predicted their own death? Let's get into it.
How did this basketball player guess when and how he'd die? He's not the only notable athlete who seemed to know exactly when the Grim Reaper was coming. Al Joyner married his wife, track and field star Florence Griffith Joyner, a year earlier than they'd planned after a magnitude 5.9 earthquake hit Los Angeles. According to Al, she told him, "Let's go. I don't want to die without being married." He remembers his wife being completely serious and scared. It was the first time she'd mentioned her death to him, but it wouldn't be the last. Widely known by the nickname Flojo, Joyner was known to those around her to have a bit of the gift of premonition. One morning, she woke her husband up and told him, "Al, I had this dream and you were crying, and I was telling you I was all right and everything was fine, but I couldn't reach you. But I was telling you everything was fine. I just couldn't get to you. You should know this." Joyner eventually started writing letters to her young daughter Mary Ruth, sealing them and instructing Al to have her open them when she turned 16. Somehow, Florence seemed to know she wouldn't be.
They confuse people like that with witches, but they're not witches, you know? They just got the gift.
Wouldn't be there. One day she told Al, "I don't want to leave Mary without a mother. If something happens to me, I want you to get married again. You will get married again because I'll be the one to send her to you." Florence Griffith Joyner died of a seizure in her sleep in 1998 at the age of 38. Wrestling fans must grapple with the knowledge that the fighters entertaining them in the ring often don't get to enjoy long and happy retirements. Instead, an inordinate number of them die long before they reach old age. This is a well-known pattern, and one that has been noted for decades. In 2003, Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel dedicated an episode to looking into all the deaths of relatively young professional wrestlers. Rowdy Roddy Piper was interviewed about why he'd recently returned to the sport at the age of 49. He implied that it was due to a financial bind by asking rhetorically, "What would you have me do at 49? When my pension plan I can't take out until I'm 65.
I'm not gonna make 65. Let's just face facts, guys.
A few years later, while still wrestling, Piper was diagnosed with cancer, but he planned to get back in the ring after treatment. He ended up beating the cancer, but his hunch was ultimately right, as he indeed didn't make it to 65. He died in 2015 at the age of 61. He might have known close to the time that it was coming, at least if you believe Hulk Hogan. In an interview for A&E's biography episode on Piper, Hogan revealed that his friend left him a voicemail shortly before his death, saying that he'd seen the light and was walking with Jesus, and that he would pray for Hogan. Hogan listened to the voicemail only after he'd learned that Piper had died. James Hellwig was known to millions of wrestling fans as the Ultimate Warrior. In 1993, he even legally changed his name to just Warrior. So it was an emotional moment when he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2014, and when he appeared on Monday Night Raw 2 nights later to mark the occasion. During the event, Warrior gave a moving speech about life, death, and legacy, which became rather eerie when he died within 24 hours of delivering that speech. Did he somehow know that he was going to die? He was only 54, and by all accounts, the heart attack that killed him was.
They say every word you speak is a spell that you're speaking over your life. Think of that.
Sudden and unexpected. But hearing the speech now makes you wonder if something supernatural was going on. As he said, "Every man's heart one day beats its final beat. His lungs breathe their final breath. And if what that man did in his life makes the blood pulse through the body of others, and makes them bleed deeper than something larger than life, then his essence, his spirit, will be immortalized by the storytellers, by the loyalty, by the memory of those who honor him and make the running the man did live forever." When it comes to the most dangerous sports in the world, base jumping is definitely up there. It may very well be the most dangerous. So if you decide to take it up yourself, you have to accept the fact that death is a real possibility. Even so, it's still eerie to learn that someone who was going to die while base jumping within days posted a photo of himself along with someone who also died while doing the same activity. On May 8, 2015, Dean Potter uploaded a photo to Facebook of 4 men jumping off Yosemite's Half Dome.
God damn, I'm thinking it's only WWE. You see how many WWE people was on this?
Along with the caption, "This is one of my all-time favorite pictures of civil disobedience. I sure miss my friend Sean Leary. He's wearing the red rig in this picture. Leary had died the year before, while Potter would die 8 days after posting the photo. But the real prediction happened a year earlier when Potter told Outside TV, "When I was a little boy, my first memory was a flying dream. In my dream, I flew, and I also fell."
I always wondered as I got older if I was, if it was some premonition of me falling to my death.
On May 16th, that dream would come true when Potter and a friend crashed into the mountain while base jumping off Yosemite's Taft Point. He was only 43. In his later years, Frank Pastore was best known as one of the biggest Christian radio hosts in the United States. But from 1979 to 1986, he was a Major League Baseball pitcher, playing all but his final season with the Cincinnati Reds. After his athletic career ended, he went to college and studied religion. He became a born-again Christian, and in 2004, he started broadcasting his radio show. On November 19, 2012, Pastore was discussing an episode of Morgan Freeman's TV show Through the Wormhole and reflecting on the idea of there being something more after you die. He mused, "Look, you guys know I ride a motorcycle, right? So at any moment, especially with the idiot people who cross the diamond lane into my lane, all right, without any blinkers, not that I'm angry about it, at any minute, I could be spread all over the 210, but that's just my body part, and that key distinction undergirds the entire Christian worldview." This hypothetical scenario became real just 3 hours later. While driving home on the 210 freeway, a car in the next lane slammed into Pastore's motorcycle. He suffered major head injuries and spent the next month in the hospital. He passed away from his wounds on December 17th at the age of 55, after predicting what would kill him to a creepy degree. It's a matter of theology whether or not he was right about what came next. Sometimes, when claiming that someone predicted their own death, you can look at a vague statement that they made, or a song lyric that they wrote about things ending, and then tenuously connect it to how they eventually die. But you don't have to do that with Pete Maravich. In 1974, Maravich had been playing in the NBA for 4 years. He was on the Atlanta Hawks, and he had a bit of a combative relationship with the fans. It all came to a head when one spectator held up a sign calling him a hot dog. So he sat down for an interview with the Beaver County Times, during which he admitted, "I don't want to play 10 years in the NBA and die of a heart attack at age 40. Maravich would go on to play another 6 years in the NBA, retiring in 1980. Then in 1988, he died from a heart attack at the age of 40. As sports writer Andy Nuzzo wrote afterward, "That's a little scary. The story was laying on my desk when I got to work. I read it and read it and read it and read it. I couldn't believe it. Everything matched."
The man known as the Pistol died of a heart attack.
Because the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001 were so shocking, it's natural that some people would try to look for some meaning in them. Bonnie McInerney's eerie story of losing her husband starts before 9/11 though, as he had multiple premonitions about what was coming. Eamon McInerney was a star lacrosse player in his college years. He was a 3-time first-team All-American who led Cornell University to 2 national championships, and he was inducted into the National Lacrosse Hall of Fame in 1992. After college, McInerney entered the corporate world and got a job with a company located in the World Trade Center. During a barbecue on September 2, 2001, he suddenly started talking in detail about what he'd do if the towers were hit by a terrorist attack. Then a few nights later, he said something his wife would never forget. As she recalled to ABC News, "I was cooking, he walked in and he said, 'You had better become more of a disciplinarian with the children, because when I'm gone, it's going to be hard.'" Just a few days later, McInerney perished along with almost 3,000 others. On October 5, 1923, Jack Trice, the first black football player at Iowa State and the namesake of the school's current stadium, wrote a letter to no one in particular before a game against the University of Minnesota. It began, "To whom it may concern, my thoughts just before the first real college game of my life. The honor of my race, family, and self are at stake. Everyone is expecting me to do big things. I will. My whole body and soul are to be thrown recklessly about on the field tomorrow. Be on your toes every minute if you expect to make good." Trice would end up badly injured in that game and died 2 days later. On the same day as his death, C.L. Brewer, director of the Department of Physical Education at the University of Missouri, wrote to Iowa State. He informed them that under no circumstances